Viewers, thank you for joining us on this special broadcast on Times Now. I have Mr. S. Gurumurthy with me. Needs no introduction. Mr. Gurumurthy, always a pleasure to talk to you. We are talking at a time when the Prime Minister will be completing the longest service as a democratically elected Prime Minister of India. I want to begin by asking you, what do you make of the last 12 years of the Modi government?
See, Pranesh, I think tangibles are being discussed very extensively. That this is the kind of deliverables he had promised and he had done. But I will focus on intangibles first. First, the psychological shift that has taken place in India and about India outside. This is not something which can be evaluated in terms of numbers. It is a qualitative shift. As someone who had been traveling outside India from 1980s, there was a time when they looked at our passport. They would ask me, "Are you going back to India? Or are you going to be here?" As someone who had gone on the invitation of very powerful industrial personalities. For example, take for instance, at the time Swaraj Pal. He had invited me. I had his letter inviting me for consultancy. But in London, in the immigration, I was asked, "Will you go back, Mr. Gurumurthy, or are you going to stay?" See, this was the status of India and Indians. From there, you have now grown to a stage where your passport is now a value document. Indian is a brand. This shift has not taken place just like that. But this shift has been substantially the achievement in the last 12 years. Because even Narendra Modi was not given visa when he became the Prime Minister. So that was the state from which he began. The Prime Minister was a condemned man outside India, and he is now the most respected person and the tallest leader. Morning Consult says for the last 6 years he is the most admired and powerful leader in the world. These are all the intangibles you have to consider. And the important point is the civilizational rise of India. India's rise is not just economic. It is not political. It is not military. These terms are important. These are very important rise. But the civilizational rise of India is important. And India has been a civilizational nation, but it was afraid of calling itself a civilizational nation. And now it proudly calls itself a civilizational nation. And this is another intangible.
Right.
The other intangible, it is intangible, but it has very tangible effect, is the position of strength from which we deal with global issues. For example, take the Ukraine war. The stand that we took, for which we had not more than 24 hours to decide, that determined India's energy security, that determined India's position as a country which will take independent positions without being terrorized by any big power. And we have dealt with China from a position of strength in Doklam, anywhere. So we have been able to play the game between China and US, which we could not do.
What is it that the Prime Minister Modi has been able to do that the others could not do, did not do?
You see, first, Modi is a different man. He had nothing to fear about. Everybody had to fear about something. What will my own party do? Family, friends, business people, associates. This man is not bothered about anything. He has no attachment or fear of anything, because I know him for 30 years, 35 years. So I know him as a person. And he did it the way, what he did in Gujarat is a micro thing. but he extended it. Nobody could, in his entire period, 2002 to 2014, not a single charge of corruption in Gujarat. You look at all that happened in the Congress period in Gujarat and compare it with this. This man took it to the nation. Till today, there is no charge of corruption against any top ministers, and of course, not to speak of him or any particular official. Everyone accepts at the higher levels there is no corruption in India. Is it achievable? Tell me, in the backdrop of what happened in 2011, 12, 13, there was huge agitation. Supreme Court had to intervene in high corruption matters. This is the background from which he shifted. No, the most difficult thing to do is to transform what is perceived as a corrupt nation, incorrigibly corrupt nation, into a country where there is no corruption. Now you have to find charges against him. That is dictatorial. You know, I lived through the period of Mrs. Indira Gandhi. I fought the emergency. I fought for the Indian Express. Demolition notices were issued. 300 prosecution notices were issued. Our factory premises were taken over. And there was a strike organized by the Congress party in the Indian Express in October, November 1987. That is democracy. That is freedom. But here, there is no such a thing has taken place. If you Modi positively, you are called Modi media. I mean, this is a narrative. There is no truth in it. Every judgment of the Supreme Court was criticized by Mrs. Gandhi. It was criticized by Rajiv Gandhi. And Mrs. Gandhi superseded the judges.
That's right.
And it is terrorized the court. There is not a single statement from Modi government against judgments which have gone against.
Right.
These are not institutional respect.
Right. Since you're talking about Indira Gandhi and you brought up emergency, sir, let me remind you of what the leader of opposition, Rahul Gandhi, said a few days ago. I'm sure you're aware of what he said. He said that Modi could well impose emergency because the government is not in great shape. I'm paraphrasing what he said. And he also went on to say that in the next 1 year, Narendra Modi will not be the Prime Minister of this country. How do you read this?
See, this man has been saying things, he is such an irresponsible person. He tore and threw away the bill passed by his own government, or proposed by his own government, his own Prime Minister. And he can do anything. So, to give the Rahul Gandhi, of course, is the opposition leader, and so he has a voice. Let us assume he is not the opposition leader. I still remember in a newspaper's annual convention, one media man asked a congressman, remove the word Gandhi from Rahul Gandhi's name. Who will respect him? You see, these are all legacy respects. These are all legacy acceptance. And there he is able to talk like this, not because he is qualified to talk like this. He knows things. He doesn't know things. For example, he kept that, that gas cylinder photograph and said that gas cylinders, this happened in March. And he spoke about Hormuz in May. He knows that Hormuz is responsible for the gas cylinder affair. He held the Prime Minister responsible. Now he says because of Hormuz there is going to be a huge energy crisis and I am foretelling this. I mean, how do you compare these two? I don't think he is a man for whom we have to give any great consideration.
Can I ask you very quickly this, sir, because, before I ask you more substantive question, you keep meeting politicians, all the time. You keep advising them. They come to you seeking your counsel. Has no one approached you from the Congress party that, Mr. Gurumurthy, why don't you spend an evening with Rahul Gandhi? Tell him things.
I tell you, they come and cry that my leader is like that. But one of his closest persons told me that you can go and tell him whatever you want to tell him. and you can give him notes that this is what you should speak, but he will speak only what he wants to speak, and he is not bothered about what notes is given to him. This is what I have got from a person who has been very, very close to him. So, if you are born of if you have an entitlement psychology,
Right.
that I know everything, that nobody can challenge me. See, that nobody can challenge him in the party is one of the greatest flaws in his whole approach to public life and his way of expressing himself. Otherwise, the words he uses, look at all the opposition party leaders in the past, whether of the BJP or the Congress. Has anybody used words like this against the Prime Minister or against the country outside? He's a special case.
Special case. Okay, let's see how this is received by the people, Congress supporters, etc., etc. Mr. Gurumurthy, you were talking of the civilizational resurgence, so to say. What are the, next 2 or 3 big things that you're hoping to see?
You see, I will tell you, the whole world is shifting to civilizational paradigm. China, which wanted to destroy its civilization, culture, and its entire past during the Cultural Revolution, is now calling itself a civilizational power, a civilizational nation. In 2021, in the 100th anniversary of the Communist Party, Xi Jinping said, 10,000-year-old Chinese civilization is guiding us, will guide us forever in future. Russia has declared itself as a civilizational state. But in India, even to talk about civilization, it took 10 years of hard work. Otherwise, the people were not willing to believe in your great civilization. Now, 67 crore people assemble in Kumbh Mela. I'll immediately take you to what the Pew Research said about America. There is a huge political polarization in America. And Pew Research says it is like in any other democracy. But the problem in America is that there is no commonality between Americans other than the state, constitution, and the law. But in India, 67 crore people assemble, and there is a national consciousness, and that is being recognized today. This is, many people talk about Gen Z in India. Gen Z in India is not Gen Z, unrelated individuals. So first we must have the confidence that there is not going to be a parallel between Nepal and Bangladesh with India, because there are different civilizational drives in India. And I live in a place where there was a separatist movement. The DMK, the DK, and the entire Dravidian movement wanted to separate Tamil Nadu. But they could not do it, you know why? Despite the fact they won the elections, they grabbed the people. The civilizational character of Tamil Nadu and the rest of India are so interlinked. So my feeling is, first, the first takeaway of this last 10, 12 years is that we have emerged as a bottom upwards strong civilizational power with the top-down strength. A country has either top-down strength or it's bottom upwards. There is an alignment. Right. This is the first point I would like to. This will take us very, very far. Second thing is that India has now traveled from being a middle power to a super middle power. We are a power in the sense, not in terms of, I told you, not in terms of only quantity, but there is a qualitative
perception. I understand, sir. Yes, sir.
In the Indian way of life, how India performs as an economy, its social capital, its cultural capital, its civilizational capital, its family model, the social security which is managed by families as compared to social security being provided by the state. These are all huge Indian model which we have to give to the world. And because you are not talking about it, the world is not going to be blind to it. The world will study India. So India will be a place where people will come and learn how to manage modernity without completely debasing themselves. So this is the second thing I am seeing.
Right.
The third thing is that India is a very responsible economic power. Even as we are rising, we are not dependent on exports. Of course, we have to increase our exports. We are not an export dependent country. We are a domestically powered economy in terms of savings, in terms of consumption, even in terms of investment. Of course, we have a deficit in current account,
Right.
which is biggest problem of India, which has to be addressed by policy measures.
Right.
So once we plug the current account deficit, India will be a very different country in
Okay.
terms of
After the takeaways that you've told us, Mr. Gurumurthy, on a scale of 10, if you had to prepare a report card and, rank or mark Prime Minister Modi's government or his tenure the last 12 years, what would it be on a scale of 10?
I will never give numbers. I will say it is a paradigm shift.
Okay. Okay, my last question, sir, before we let you go. Is there one criticism of the Modi era you think supporters must take seriously? Or, if no criticism, a shortcoming, something that you think the government could have, emphasized more on or focused more on?
You see, actually, there has been a shortcoming which I have been noticing. That is, there could have been greater dialogue. I am not only talking about the Congress and all that. There could have been greater dialogue between the ruling party and the different opposition parties. I don't regard Congress as an opposition party. Congress has declared itself as an enemy party. But that doesn't mean that you should neglect other parties. That would have brought down the heat. That would have helped the ecosystem to be better. I hope the ruling party and the government will realize the shortcoming and in future address this. Because the strong personality of Modi, unless it is complemented by a communication and relationship building model, there will always be a recall that a strong leader means a dictatorial leader. Because that is the perception that Mrs. Gandhi gave to this country. A strong leader means a dictatorial leader. But
Right.
Modi is not dictatorial, he is strong. But the communication has not been good, as I told you, that the respect for all the institutions which this government has given, no other government has given. And communication gap is there,
Right.
which it is to address.
Well said, sir. Thank you for taking our questions and you were forthright as always. Thank you for your time, Mr. Gurumurthy. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you, Pranesh.